welcome. I'm Colin Daniel from riffninja.com, and I'm here today to give you a lesson. And this one's an answer to a question from my student, and it's about turnarounds. His first question was, what is a turnaround and their purpose? And then how do they relate to the key? And I kind of did that in one lesson. I'm going to continue from there. This is like another step in the lesson. This is for Mark, if you're out there listening. Turnarounds are exactly what they're said to be. They turn you around and they start you again. Yeah, that's all they do. They start the progression over, like in a lot of blues. You have a 10 or 12 or 16 or 20 bar, 24 bar phrase, some kind of a phrase, and you need some resolve to it. You need to end it somewhere and begin it again, right? You want to begin that cycle again. That's the way all the songs, most of the songs work. Most of the blues songs work off of a 12 bar of some kind of form. And so you get to the end of that 12th bar and you need something to bring you back to the beginning. It's a musical cue. It lets your ear know, it lets the players know, it lets everybody, the listeners know. Okay, we're done with that. We're coming back and we're going to start another chapter or another paragraph to this story of this musical song. And the first turnaround I discussed was the chromatic pass note between the 4 and 5. You know, you've got 1, 4, and 5. Say you're in the key of G, your 12 bar changes are G, C, and D. You know, and, you got 4 bars of G. Then you got 2 bars of the C, which is the 4 change. Back to 2 bars of the G. 1 bar of D, 1 bar of C, 1 bar of G. That leaves us with 1 more bar left, which is where we put our closing riff. So in the last 4 bars, that's the most common, the chromatic pass note between the 4 and 5. And it's not just used, but that chromatic pass note isn't just used to do a turnaround or an ending. You hear it in lots of other music, like that chromatic pass note is really used a lot. They call it the devil's note. So if you're a devil, you can play it, no problem. It goes way back, the history for the devil's note. It goes way back to the church when the church was trying to control the musician. And they said that was an evil note, so they called it the devil's note. All it really is a chromatic passing note between the 4 and 5. Wherever you go, like if you were in the key of B and you did that, still has the same result. What it does is it forces you to go back to the tonic, because at that point when you hear the last 4 bars and you hear that run, and it's either asking you to end if you want to finish the song, or it's asking you to start back at the beginning again. So in a way, a turnaround can be used as an ending. It's trying to close something, right? You're left hanging there as soon as you hit that root chord or that root change right away. You now have a closing note or a turnaround to bring you back to the beginning. So that's a real popular one, and you can play that. It doesn't have to be played in single notes. It could be played, I like to play it in double notes, like in perfect fifths, like power chord. So, it depends on the song you're playing and what effect you want from it, right? That's with power chords. I also play it with major thirds. It would work with major thirds too. C major third, C sharp major third, and D major third. So I might go. That's cool too. Single note works good too. There's different spots to play it in. Wherever you can find those 3 notes. All right. So that's the closing note, or the chromatic pass note between the 4 and 5. Very, very common. Another common one is the chromatic pass note between the 7 and the 8, which in the classical theory end is known as the Re 7th, or harmonic minor scale. Now they have some rules, some limitations to it, but here in blues we don't have that limitation. One of the best examples I can think of a blues song with the 7 to 8 in it is The Thrill Is Gone, the B.B. King song, The Thrill Is Gone. You know, he goes through his entire chord progression, which is a 12 bar. It's not a common 12 bar, it's not like the most expected 12 bar, but he uses 1, 4, 5 and then one relative major chord. But you go through this whole 12 bar, it's in the key of B minor. So B minor is the 1 or the tonic, right? Here's the relative major, it's the G major. Then your 5 chord, the F sharp minor. Back to the B minor. It's 1, 4, 5 plus the G major. Yeah, and what does he play there? He plays A major, which is technically the 7 chord for a B minor key or scale. Then he goes A sharp major, which is the Re 7th. And then it closes it off, because if you just played the A major and then the B minor, it doesn't have the same effect as going. That really closes it. That makes it final. It's because of the note distance there that what does it. A semitone to your tonic always will resolve. Even a semitone higher down does the same kind of effect. That's how they end songs, like, you know. That's not the way I'd end The Thrill Is Gone. I just end it by going 7, Re 7, and that's it. I'm done, right? But whatever way I play it, whether it's in single note, whether it's in full chord, whether it's in intervals, it still closes because of that distance between the Re 7th and the tonic. As soon as you do that, it closes it, and that's what the classical musician wanted, in effect, for their minor scale, was to make the scale resolve better, so they raised the 7th note of their minor scale, which now makes the 7 to 8 a semitone, right? But in blues, we play the minor 7, then the Re 7th, then we close, and that's just another way of approaching that piece of theory. The classical musician will say it's wrong, but it's not wrong. It's just wrong if you're going to play classical music and you want to be limited to that style or that era of music. Other than that, this sounds great too. Nice closing movement anyways. And last but not least, in turnarounds, is a reverse kind of a thing, using the chromatic pass note between the 4 and 5. Sometimes they'll add more to the chromatic pass note between the 4 and 5. Like, you know how I showed you in the first example, you know, there's the last 4 bars. It goes D 1 bar, C 1 bar, G, and the chromatic pass note between the 4 and 5. Well, now what they do is they take an extra bar and they do a little rundown instead. So instead of going, they go D, they go C, the 5 and the 4 change. And now instead of playing a chord for the 11th bar, they go. Then the chromatic passage. And they actually use the chromatic passage descending and ascending here, which is kind of cool. So how's that done? Well, it's out of the major scale of all things, because it does have the major third in it, and that's another theory lesson in its own. It's a bit of a conundrum that way. We're splitting hairs. We're playing part major, part minor here. That's the blues. That's the dominant 7th chord. Again, that would be another lesson. But here we go. I use my second finger on the 3rd fret, which is my G tonic. Then I go up to the 5th fret, 5th string with my pinky, and that's the D, the 5. Then I go to the devil's note, the flatted 5th, or the chromatic pass note between the 4 and 5, if you like. Then the 4 with my 2nd finger, then the major 3rd with my 1st finger. And so I just do a run out of it. And then back up, 4 to 5 with the chromatic passing note. And the end result. Or bringing you back to another progression. Very cool. I hope you do realize that this can be done in any key. You know, like, I mean, if I was in the key of B and I was on the last 4 changes in a 12 bar, it might go like this. So this is fully transposable. All right, I'm sure you get the drift, and I'm hoping that this has given you some insight into turnarounds and endings too, for that matter. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you really want to get serious, check out my Riff Ninja site, riffninja.com, if you really want some serious lessons. Other than that, thanks for hanging out for this lesson, and good luck and happy guitar playing. See you soon.